My name is Molly Thurman. The book I'm reading is Daughters of a Dead Empire by Carolyn Tara O'Neil. So the main characters are Anna and Evgenia, and they are two girls around the age of 16 who are on opposite sides of the Russian Civil War. So Anna is the daughter of the Tsar who has been murdered. Her whole family has been murdered. So she has escaped, and she met Evgenia, who is on the red side of the war, who is against Tsarists. So the two meet, don't get along at first, but eventually they go through a lot of struggles together. They're chased by a Commander Yurovsky. So Commander Yurovsky is still after Anna. The girls are running away, and eventually they split up, and Evgenia is captured by Yurovsky. She's in a jail cell, and the section I'm going to be reading is about Evgenia in the jail, in the Cheka jail, which is a jail from the white side. So I'm starting on page 239. Chapter 24, Evgenia. At night my cell got dark and quiet like a grave. Then the rats came out. Their small feet scratched along the stone floors faster than Batya, plucking his balalaika strings. One rat sidled near me. A quick bang of my lapti against the wall set it scurrying away. Most of the rats just wanted the spilled stew. I let them enjoy their feast, even if the sounds of their munching turned my stomach. It was a long night. Anton woke me up in the morning, a good while after the sun rose. Evgenia? He knocked on the wall between us like he thought I could open it. You still there? Yeah. Oh, I wasn't sure if I might have dreamed you up. I think I'm sorry I didn't. I sat on the floor, my back toward him, and I let my head fall onto my knees. I hadn't relaxed once. My body buzzed nervously, making me jumpy on top of tired and thirsty. From outside the jail came the sound of busy activity, men calling out, wagons bouncing on gravel. A buzzing noise like a bee in my ear grew louder until it filled the cell around me. I'd heard that sound once before. It was an automobile. What's going on outside? I asked Anton. They've been moving around out there all morning. Automobiles, wagons, horses. We think it's the last of the Red Army from Ekaterinburg preparing to go north. We, the Czechs and I. Havel's next door next to me. He speaks a little Russian. Yesterday the soldiers talked about leaving a small company behind an ISET to look after the trash. We think they were talking about the retreat. The trash, presumably referring to us, of course. I grunted. That made sense. How long have you been here anyway? I asked. In this town, just since the troops fled Ekaterinburg. That was 2 days ago. But they arrested me nearly 2 weeks ago. Did they question you? Like the unfortunate man upstairs, you mean? They did at first, but after they brought in their Czech prisoners, they left me alone. Short attention span, these Czech officers. I wondered what Anton looked like. Did he have scars from the Czech interrogations? I studied the walls, the window, the metal bars. I rattled the padlock again, on the off chance it had weakened overnight. Nothing. Hours passed. Anton talked some more. The Czechs woke and spoke to each other. Havel asked me, "You girl?" in bad Russian. He followed it up with, "Be careful." Like I had any way of doing that. Nemov came in the afternoon. So Nemov is one of the torturers in the Cheka jail, and he's already interrogated Anna once. He's going to come and get her again. Nemov came in the afternoon. He was grinning. "You have a visitor," he said. "Someone who's eager to see you." My mouth dried and my back broke out into prickly sweat. I knew who my visitor was. Nemov unlocked the door and grabbed my arms tighter than a bear trap. "We're going to have some fun, girl." He pushed me up on the stairs. He kept poking my back with his fist as we walked. It wasn't hard enough to be a punch, but it wasn't soft either. I would have pointed out that I was going where he wanted me to go, but I couldn't speak. I couldn't think clearly. He was here. The hall upstairs was longer and brighter than I remembered. Halfway down it was an open doorway. It looked to be roughly where the screaming had come from the day before. I stopped and tried to yank my arms free of Nemov, but his hold didn't give. "Walk, Suka," he growled. Up here I could see him better. He had an angry face to match his voice. His eyes were wide apart, bulging and full of hate. I walked. We turned into the open room. It was small as my cell and smelled just as bad. Right in the middle there was a single chair bolted with metal planks into the floor. Against the wall to the right was a table and another chair, and Yurovsky sitting in it. My heart stopped. Nemov had to push me in. Yurovsky's nose was sharper than I remembered, his eyes narrower. He wore his army uniform, and the stars on his sleeve were bright red. His hands rested easily on the revolver in his lap. My skin prickled with sweat. I tried to breathe normally, but it entered my mouth like a croak. He was going to kill me. I looked at the revolver again. It was the same gun he used to shoot Kostya. Kostya is Evgenia's brother, who Yurovsky murdered in their hometown while he was chasing Anna and Evgenia. Heat rose inside me, and I lost my head, baring my teeth furiously. I tried to jerk my arms free of Nemov. If I could reach the gun fast enough, I'd kill Yurovsky. It would be worth it. If nothing else, I'd at least get in a few hits, but Nemov's grip was like iron. "Tie her down," Yurovsky said. "You," I screamed. Nemov and another guard forced me into the chair, and I tied my hands behind the back, then each of the ankles to a chair leg. Yurovsky stood. I glared at him, waiting for his next move. He stepped forward, and my knees jerked wildly, my thigh muscles flinching. Then I saw that he had the gun in his hand. He pressed his knees against mine. His smell filled my mouth, old wool and gunpowder. The door to the room closed. I didn't know who'd left or who was still there. All I saw was Yurovsky leaning over me, his neat hair slipping over his forehead as he came closer. He put the barrel of the gun on my temple. It was cold and unforgivingly hard. I wasn't breathing anymore. "Tell me where Anastasia is," he said quietly. I squeezed my eyes shut. He could kill me just like Kostya. I wouldn't help him kill anyone else. I wouldn't say anything. I was dead anyway. But a word slipped out from my lips. It sounded as weak as a child's whimper. "Speak up," Yurovsky said. I whimpered again, then pushed the word out. "No," I said. Yurovsky pressed the gun harder into my head, like a trowel into land that won't give. He pushed until my head lowered all the way to the side, my ear digging into my shoulder. "Where is she?" He cocked the gun like a machine-like click. I gasped, trying to breathe or beg for my life. Let him do it. For Kostya. I wouldn't help this murderer. I'd die first. "No," I cried. The blast came. I flinched, but no, I'd imagined it. I'd almost heard it. It was coming, and I'd never see Mama again. Tears trickled into my hair, and snot dripped onto my cheek. I gritted my teeth, readying for the shot. Yurovsky pulled the gun away. My temple throbbed with relief, but I stayed still, waiting. "So, you are not yet afraid of dying," Yurovsky said. He moved away. I slowly lifted my head and relaxed my tense body as I looked at him. My head felt like it was going to fly off. My whole body felt light. He hadn't shot me. I was alive. But why? Yurovsky put the revolver on the table with a solid, heavy thud. The room was so small. Nemov stood by the door with his arms crossed. He wore his rifle slung under his arm, ready to use. On his belt he strapped extra ammunition and a knife. He watched me with furious eyes. If Yurovsky didn't end me, Nemov would. "Maybe you don't believe I'll really kill you," Yurovsky went on. "You think your knowledge of the Grand Duchess will protect you." I held my breath. "Would it? You don't understand your position. Let me explain it to you." He sat in his chair and crossed an ankle over his knee. His stare was as hard as icicles on the border of Lake Ised. "You either tell me what I need to know, or Captain Nemov here will help our conversation along. So, where is Anastasia?" I glared at him. His face changed when he realized I wasn't going to answer. He nodded at Nemov, and I looked over just in time to see the butt of Nemov's rifle headed toward me. It smashed into the side of my face, and my cheek and jaw exploded with pain. Blood pooled in my mouth, warm and metallic, as I accidentally bit my tongue. I'd been hit in fights before, but never like this. My head pulsed like a heart, pain beating against the sides. I spat out some blood. It splattered onto my apron and the floor, where it landed on other bloodstains. "Do not play games with me, traitor." His voice was still quiet and dark as granite. "You see, I already know everything about you. I know the details of the crimes you committed, and I know you're hiding the Romanova. Let us try again. Tell me where she is." It took me a moment to understand him. "I don't know," I said over my numb, thick tongue. He nodded. I closed my eyes. Nemov punched me on the same cheek. Then he punched with his other hand. My head flew. The world went black and dizzy. All I knew was pain. I was sure the next punch would break my face in half, but it came, and I was still whole. It felt like my nose was twisted sideways. He hit me in my gut. He punched my chest. My face was a mess of blood and bruise, and my torso felt like a flattened pancake when he finally stepped back. My head fell forward. Blood burned as it streamed out of my nose and poured to the floor like milk from a spilled pitcher. There was even blood in my eyes and on my eyelashes. For a while, all I saw was red. Bolshevik red. When I could finally lift my head, I saw Nemov standing in the corner like nothing had happened. The commander stared at me. His eyes looked the same. "Tell me where Anastasia is," he said. I tilted my head back. The blood slowed to a trickle. It felt warm and dirty, like someone pissing on my chin. Yurovsky repeated his question, but I didn't have an answer for him. I couldn't even think straight. "I don't like to be ignored, Captain. Wake her up." Nemov grabbed my hair and tugged my head back hard. "Answer the commander," he growled. He reared his fist again. "Hold on, Captain," Yurovsky said mildly. Nemov let me go, and I gasped with relief. I couldn't get enough air. I couldn't steady my jumpy heart. I could barely see. Everything was spinning. "I will not waste my time," Yurovsky said. "The men in my command have given their lives to fight against the capitalists, yet you betray us. You help people who want to keep us in the dark ages." He turned to gesture at Nemov. "I'm no traitor." The words burned in my throat. "You are. This isn't communism. You can't make things better by killing people or hurting us. You'll only make more war and more violence." Yurovsky's face frosted over. "You," he said, "are the worst kind of traitor. You can see the path that will bring us peace and equality, but you're too cowardly to take it. You're willing to let your own people suffer. You don't realize that the path of compromise is lined with false hope. I will make sure we are not swayed. I won't let you sabotage our future. Captain, bring in the box." Nemov's face lit up, and my heart skittered. He came back a moment later, laid something heavy and metal on the table, and took great care with whatever he'd brought. Yurovsky waited patiently. A box lid creaked open. Nemov placed several thin metal objects that I couldn't see onto the wooden table with distinct clinks. It sounded like he was setting places for dinner. Sweat broke out on my forehead. I wished I could see him better. I wished I knew it was coming. "Your brother spoke highly of you," Yurovsky said. "Think how sorry he'd be to see you now. Tell me, where is Anastasia?" I spat at him. He did not even flinch. "This question demands an answer of yes or no. Will you tell me who turned you?" "You don't—" "Go ahead, Captain." He cut me off. Nemov walked behind me and started untying my hands. "What are you doing?" I gasped. He tied my right hand to the metal chair, the ropes cutting deep into my skin. He came around me, his steps heavy in the quiet room. My left hand was free. I could have hit him, but a weak punch while I was still tied to the chair wouldn't do me any good. Nemov grabbed my left wrist in his huge, rough hand. He squeezed my fingers together so hard I thought they'd break. Then he pulled out my index finger and wrapped his fist around it to hold it still. My breath started coming out in short pants. Something bad was coming. He was going to break my finger in his hands. "Please don't," I said. "Too late," Yurovsky answered for him. Nemov picked up a pair of old pliers. He slipped one hot, sharp jaw under the nail of my index finger. A moan started deep in my throat and slipped past my lips, ugly and animal. He dug the modified tool in deep, stabbing into my finger wrongly, like a bone poking through the skin. It hurt, but I knew what was about to happen would be worse. "Don't," I cried. "Spineless," Yurovsky said coldly. "You and your brother both. I wonder what your mother will say when she learns that she raised two traitors." An icy wave washed over me. I looked from my finger to Nemov's eager face to Yurovsky's glare. Only one thought came through. "Leave my mother out of this," I said. "Why should I?" Yurovsky said. "She bears some responsibility for what you are. I have children too, you know. It's the worst traits that get passed on from generation to generation. Greed, like the pomeshchiki and kulaks teach their children. Or weakness. My own father was soft. I had to be the one to change, to show my children that we can make this world better by acting, not with empty prayers. Your mother must have bred her cowardice into you. I will have her arrested and questioned if you won't answer me now." "No," I cried. "She doesn't know anything. She doesn't even know who Anna is. No one does. I only just found out myself a day or two ago. My mother doesn't know anything. She didn't do anything. Then if you want to protect her, tell me where the Romanov girl is. Leave my mother alone." I hunched forward to hide my face in the arm that Nemov still held. "Answer my question." "Fine," I moaned. Nemov let go. I tried to hold out. I kept my mouth shut as long as I could, but I had no choice. I wanted to kill Nemov. I wanted to be far away from the Cheka jail. I wanted Yurovsky dead, or to die myself. I kept wishing for the ground to open up between us, for an earthquake to rattle the building and crumble us all into dust, but nothing came. I'll tell you, I said. And that's the end of chapter 24. So what this means is Evgenia is going to tell Yurovsky where Anna is, and eventually he finds her and tries to kill her, but I'm not going to spoil what happens. So if you liked that short passage, you should read Daughters of a Dead Empire. It's really interesting, and I was really sad when it was over because I was just so hooked.